Before we start this video, I just want to do a quick shout out to somebody who left a message on my website about an order he hadn't received. Now, it's extremely difficult to get in touch with this guy. I think his name's William Norval in South Africa. He ordered something on the 22nd and he says he hasn't arrived yet, which I believe him. But the thing was, his address is very strange on this envelope. So when you write something in the shop on the, on the shipping label, this is how it comes out. I just cut half off. I've got one receipt, and away you go. Now, I know it was sent out because it was sent out on the 23rd, the following day. What I'm trying to say is, my address is below here, William. So get in touch with me. I don't take people's money and don't send anything, you know. But this is one of the points I want to say to all the rest of you guys. Small packet shipping, which is the cheapest, 99.99% gets there. Bit slow, but it gets there. If you're in a place that's a bit suspect for shipping, then I really suggest you go for the track packaging, because the small package has no tracking and no insurance. So just be careful about that. I've done a video on it and I'll put a link below again. But just be careful of, like shipping in some countries, because it can get stolen, it can get stuck in customs, but we have no way of knowing if it's not a tracked package. All right, so let's get on with this video. So today I'm going to try and get that transfer case in there. I've got to strip it down and, well, not strip it down, but change the seals, change the shaft seal and a few bits and pieces because they're pretty hard. What I want to do is just have a quick look around here, because I have to jog my memory of what I did. I have been doing a little bits and pieces, but there's a few things left to do. Excuse me. I've got to fasten down that clutch hose for a start with some P-clips. I've made up the vacuum pipe. Now, this was a nice thing about this engine. Another reason why I chose it is because it's got vacuum for braking. A lot of American engines have hydraulics braking off the power steering pump, so that's okay. I found a top hose off a Land Rover that fitted perfectly. I can't remember which one it is, but it fits great. I've got to make a bracket. These are custom brackets I made because I put the radiator further back when I put an intercooler in here. Well, of course, don't need to do that now, but I thought instead of making just, because they're kind of expensive to buy new and I haven't got any. But I thought to myself, wait a minute, if I do another bracket, why not integrate it and incorporate the fan shroud? Because you can see here, the fan fits lovely. Look at that. Doesn't even hit the steering. Pretty good, eh? And that's a big enough fan to suck anybody. Well, no, wait a minute, I won't go that way. Anyway, it's going to pass a lot of air, so I'm quite pleased with that. I'm not putting air conditioning on this. I made this bracket for the power steering pump, so it uses all the original power steering. I think that's off I can't remember what that's off actually. I think it's off a V8 one. I'm not sure, but anyway, it fits the same and the pulley's the right diameter. So that should be good. I've been on today, we're making an air filter frame for the air filter box. That's going down there. That's going to work out well. I've got a few little bits of clips to put on the hoses. Talking about wiring, this just came from Mr. Amazon today, and this is a 6 relay unit with 6 fuses, and that's going to go on a bracket down there. The ECU is going to be tucked under the wing, under there. Obviously I can't do that yet until I send it away and get it reprogrammed. Not a big deal. From the GM I also salvaged this 175 amp mega fuse, which also doubles up as a connector for the battery cable and the cable for the starter and the alternator. So that's going to be good, and I think that's just going to go down there. That's going to go really nice. So it's starting to work out. Yeah, I've got some brackets to make it. I used the original Land Rover throttle cable, and I just adapted it with a little pin clip here, so the throttle works and there's plenty of adjustment on there, so that's going to be nice. What else? Oh, let's move that great big thing out of the way. The hoses for the heater, well, they come out the right side. The hose for the heater down radiator, that comes out the right side. That's nice. And you can see where the wiring is going to follow for the ECU. And so if I can get those wires all tidied up, I noticed they use a lot of pink. They must have bought a lot of pink wire at car boot sale or something, because it's all pink. That's going to go down under there, so that'll work nice for that fuse box. What else? Yeah, I think that's all right. I've lost a lot of bits and pieces, I must admit. I can't find out where half my bits and bobs have gone. You can see how, when I've been drilling holes, I should have really cleaned off all the rust and things. I've got the heater on backwards like I normally do, so that's going to be nice. So that's already done. But you can see how nice it looks, see? The motor looks quite nice. It fits well. The only thing is, like I say, with the Land Rover, is that you're a bit tight for the exhaust, and I've got to change that HT lead, because for some reason the first plug has got a great big long thing on it, and it should be at a 90 degrees, so I might just whip one off a Land Rover and put that on. The manifold, well, we can't do anything with the exhaust manifolds until we get that thing on. So let me start playing around with this transfer case and we'll get this bolted on. So before I fit this transfer case, I'm going to fit the adapter first. Now I found my flange here, which I thought I'd lost, because I've got a double cardan shaft to go on the front of here, but I haven't got any damned oil seal, so I've only just put the nuts on temporarily. I've got a new seal for here, got lots of them, but I've been doing so many transfer cases lately, I haven't got any. It's not the end of the world though. So what was I going to tell you? Oh yeah, these things here, when I changed the O-ring, I always change these when I got a transfer case out. This was the locking ring when I took it out, and this was a spare one, what it should look like. So that's sort of been turning without taking the lock nut off. You know, it's got a little tab washer on the locking nut. If I've got one in my pocket, I've got everything else in my pocket. Wait a minute. Ah, here it is. There. You must undo that locking tab there, punch it out of the way, because if not, it'll pull the shaft round, and that's what caused that that locking ring to do that. So we don't want that. Anyway, the next thing is, because we're going to use an adapter plate on here and not an aluminium gearbox, like an R380 for example, what we've got to do now is calculate the depth of the bolt. And I will go outside in a minute and I'll show you why these bolts are so important. We've done this before, but it's a matter of ruining your gearbox or making a good job. So here we are in the darkest container, and you can see the consequences of putting a longer bolt through. You see that tooth there's chipped off? Well, what's happened is that tooth chipped off, and wait a minute, I'll have to go the other way. There you go. Then the piece got lodged into here, and then jammed that tooth up and snapped that tooth. After that, it's like a bloody grenade going off, because all them bits and pieces will get stirred around. Now, it's not the bottom bolt here, it's the top one. Now, obviously this is upside down, but it's not the bottom one that's the problem, it's the top one, so just be careful of that. And how I do it is, like, I have two pockets, funny enough, and I put the short bolts in one pocket and the long bolts in the other. Ow, get off. Yeah. Now, these bolts here go in from the engine side. These bolts here go in from the rear axle side, just to make it easier to understand. Can you see there's a difference in length? Because, like I'll show you in a minute, they will catch on the gear and get chewed up. However, in our case, we might have to do something different, because I used a 10mm plate instead of aluminium. So I'm going to calculate the bolt depth. I'm going to use a little picker like this, and I'm going to put it through the thread so it goes at the other side of the casting. I'm going to put a mark on there. Don't worry about it marking everywhere, it's alright. So the thickness of our casting is, not of our casting, yeah, it's 10mm plate, alright, so it's 10mm thick, plus, not that, plus that distance there, which is 18mm. Is that right? Oh, wait a minute, yeah, so if we go, yeah, so that's 10, right, plus, actually it's not 18mm, it's 16mm, so that's 26mm. Let's put our caliper onto 26. Or thereabouts. And you can see that these bolts are going to be too long. See there, look. They're going to be too long, so we've got to get shorter bolts in there, so you've got to check that first. Alright? So I'm going to get 26mm bolts. Just let me go and have a look and see if I've got some. Just as an experiment, I thought I'd do a demonstration. This is one of the front bolts that goes from the back, should I say. This is one of the bolts that goes from this away. But it's a bigger bolt than normal. But let's put it through here and screw it in. Now look, there's the transfer case turning naturally. You can't. I'll tell you what, let me go and get my shaft. Right, so now you can see I've got my shaft there, and this is turning nice. What happens if you put a bolt that's too long through here? Well, let's screw this one in, and I'll show you. Locks up. Now the thing is, it just to say kisses the teeth inside, but what will happen is, because the gearbox is almighty and powerful, it will, I have to get that back in its right place again. If you look, I tell you, look at this here. Wait a minute. If you look very carefully, you can see the bolt moving. Oh, got that right this time. So we'll take this out and I'll explain what happens. Because I bet it's happened to you and you wonder why you get oil leaks and what have you. It was a bad idea. They actually should have made a blind hole, but there again, if you put the wrong bolt through again, then you're going to catch it anyway, so... Ah, dear me. Oh, that's not going to come out now. It just shows you. Let me try and get this bolt out. I'll have to get a spanner. You might not see this. I don't know if it's going to focus in or not. But somewhere on there, I might have it the wrong way around. There was just enough damage, just by turning it that little bit, to jam the thread and make it difficult to get out. It wouldn't unscrew with my fingers. It doesn't really damage the threads at all. But anyway, what I'm saying is this. If you put a bolt in that's too long, two things will happen. You'll chip the gear, but also you'll bend over the top of this bolt, making it larger. What happens then? You unscrew it and you'll rip all the threads out of here, and that means a helicoil. Now I have actually done them before in situ. I've done them in place, but it ain't fun. Alright, so just be wary about putting the wrong size bolts in. So I'm kind of buggered now. So what I'm going to do though, I'm going to clean off this face, because this is just taken off, but I'm going to clean it up a bit. It's a 1999 transfer case. I'm going to put a bit of Hylamar on these threads as a thread sealant, just in case. I'm not going to put sealer all the way around like a lot of people do. And yeah, let's fit this adapter. So with the adapter and the shaft in properly with a snap ring, I've got this greased up to give it a head start. It is heavy. I'm putting this one in first because it's easier to get the spline lined up. Being a coarse spline, there we go. Now the bolts that go through the bottom, from this side should I say, are 25mm. I found some 25mm ones. Ah, here they are. And these hold the back plate on, so that's perfect. Oh yeah, I've got to put some high-low bar on. So there we go, a little bit of high-low bar on both bolts. Oh, that's no wonder I couldn't get it in. I'm trying to put it in the dowel. You can see here how I cut a piece out to help to get the bolts out, and also for the high and low lever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten those up. I'm going to put the rest of the bolts in. Yeah, they're going to go in really nice. Put the rest of the bolts in, torque it down, and you can see now, look, it's lovely and concentric. So what I can do next is put this piece on here. I can check out the diff lock. Now these bolts here have got a little bit of a concern for me, because it had a bracket on here, because this had a cable shift for the high and low link for the diff lock, and I'm not sure if these bolts are too long, so I'm going to calculate which ones they are, and then they might be okay, you know, but you never know. You don't want them catching on anything inside.